In this video, we're going to take a look at some of the muscles of the upper limb. So we're going to work our way from the shoulder down on both the anterior and posterior side. All right, with this arm model, I want to start up at the shoulder. So this big one right here is the deltoid muscle. Delta, if you look in Greek symboling, is a triangle. So it looks like a triangle. It's going to have a broader base, and then it's going to come to a narrow point right here. It can do a lot of different actions depending on where you pull from. So here on the posterior side, if you pull from here, it would pull you to the back. If you go right up and over, that's going to pull it away from your torso or your trunk, which is abduction. And then if you pull from the front, you could flex. You could pull it forward. If we take this one off, we'll be able to see more of our rotator cuff muscles. So the rotator cuff is going to be our sits muscles, S, I, T, and then we flip it over for the other S, so sits. So the first two are going to be named for their relationship to the spine of the scapula. So I'm going to turn it this way so we can get our orientation. So the spine of our scapula, the one that's above it, is supraspinatus. So supra for above, and then spinatus for the spine. So we're above the spine, we'll reach up and over. Infraspinatus is the one inferior to the spine. So this is the big one below it. Then the T is the teres minor. Now, if you see a term that goes minor, that means there's also a major somewhere else. Now, this one's not part of the rotator cuff. It doesn't go up towards the top by the head of the humerus here. So this one, not part of the rotator cuff, you can identify the teres major by going all the way to the point. So this one is different than the minor. There's a separation between the two, typically, because what happens is the minor stays in the back and the major will snake down towards the front. Now, since minor stays in the back, along with the infraspinatus, if you were to pull on them, what it'll do is it'll rotate your arm in the way that you're moving externally. So we call this external rotation. You're rotating it out. Now, if we go to the subscapularis, and we flip our scapula over, this stays on the front side. So if we were to pull these ones, it would pull our humerus medially. So we would medially rotate with this one. So when I go through my sits muscles, my S, I, T, and S, I think it laterally rotates. And then we have the subscapularis here medially rotating. Supraspinatus doesn't do a lot of rotation because it's reaching up and over. It's more going to do abduction, pulling you away from your trunk. Now, as we work our way down the front here, we can see there's two separate insertions that are going to merge for one muscle. So this is actually what we call a bicep, bi meaning two origins. So biceps, and then we're in the brachial region, so we call it biceps brachii. The biceps brachii will come all the way down and attach at the forearm. So that's where it's going to do its action. That's where its insertion is. So this will flex the forearm. There's another little muscle that's going to attach to the coracoid process up here of the scapula and reach down into the brachial region. So the name is telling you what you're attaching, coracobrachialis, because we're going to go from the coracoid process to the brachial region. If we were to take the biceps brachii off, we'll be able to see the brachialis. Since it's in the same location as the biceps brachii, it will do the same job as the biceps brachii, so flexing the forearm. If we have something that flexes the forearm, so decreasing the joint angle at the elbow, we need something that will extend it, and it will have to be on the opposite side to do the opposite action. So if we flip this over, we're going to have our triceps. We'll have three heads here. So 1, 2, and then the third one back under here. Right there. When you're looking at the biceps, let me put this one back on front. We talked about there being two heads, but I didn't tell you which one was which. So the trick on this one is the lateral is long because this has to go up and over the head of the humerus versus the short head can go straight up to that coracoid process. So lateral is long for the biceps. If you go to the triceps on the other side, on the medial side is the long one. There is also a medial head. That's the one that's underneath it. And then the lateral head is the one that you see on the outside.